We are 4 weeks into the fantasy season, and by this point in Dynasty, you likely should have an idea of if you are a rebuilder, if you are a contender. The reason you want to start to kind of figure that out, make that decision, is that is going to dictate the types of players you trade for. So if you're falling into that contender bucket or you think you have a chance to win a title, let's talk 3 trade targets for your contending rosters heading into week 5 here. Let's start over at the quarterback position, and we're going to talk about a guy we have been mentioning really all offseason, all year, and he's continued success or has had success during the first 4 weeks of the season, and that's going to be Russell Wilson. In 6-point passing leagues, he is averaging over 23 points per game. He is currently the QB7 on the season in terms of points per game as well, and Russell Wilson really does look to be dialing it up week in and week out because that Denver defense is terrible. They cannot stop anybody, and that has forced this team to have to air it out. Now, they don't have crazy volume, right? He's not throwing 40, 50 times a game, but Russ is continuing to be hyper efficient. That's what he does basically his entire career. So really, it feels, even with all of the Denver struggles and the terrible, terrible nature of that team, Russ has balled out for fantasy. He has returned to form with Sean Payton. And as you look ahead, right, look to the playoffs, they are set up very well for Russ to have some monster performances, right? In week 15, they're going to get Detroit, while not a smash matchup, still a very good matchup. Then you get New England, so hopefully you have a pivot in week 16. But the cherry on top here is he is going to get the Los Angeles Chargers in the finals. If you can make it to that point, Russell Wilson's probably going to be a top 10 quarterback with the chance to finish significantly higher in the finals. So if you can survive and make it to the finals with Russell Wilson, he's going to pay off. So let's look at the DLF Trade Finder. Some recent trades that have taken place, including Russell Wilson. There's been one out there. This just took place last week. Russell Wilson for Sam Howell and Kadarius Toney. That's a smash trade, right? Russ isn't retiring. He probably has more value over the next 3 years than both Howell and Kadarius Toney combined anyways. And the next one is actually Russell Wilson just for a second in your Superflex leagues. This has taken place a few times. It would be exactly what I'm trying to do to get Russell Wilson. People seem to be selling low because of the narrative around Denver, but like we said, it hasn't really affected his ability to produce. So go out, go get Russell Wilson if you don't have him already. Now, moving over to the running back position, this is a carryover from our 5 moves to make video. It is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon, I'm going to continue to talk about the next couple of weeks here because he's just eating volume. He is getting basically all of the work in this Cincinnati backfield. And as a contender, all I need is for Joe Mixon to be healthy, because come the playoffs, that's when things should at least be in full swing, or it feels like they should be trending in that direction. Because right now, Joe Burrow is not healthy. The offense is sputtering. There's just not enough points or opportunities for Joe Mixon to score a ton. With that week 7 bye week in mind, I think you have a few weeks, or there's a window to buy Joe Mixon, because he's going to continue to be a low-end RB2 as long as Burrow can't really push the ball down the field. But coming out of that, week 8 and beyond, Joe Mixon very well could be a top 12 running back because he's going to get spike weeks. The more this offense can get up to speed, that's what this is all about, the more Joe Mixon is going to score because it's going to put him at the goal line. And when you look at what he's going for, it's not really all that crazy right now. 2 trades that have happened in the last week, you have Dameon Pierce and Wan'Dale Robinson for Joe Mixon. Again, as a contender, I much rather would have Joe Mixon over Dameon Pierce, and Wan'Dale Robinson, while he's a nice depth piece, he's not a difference maker. At least he isn't today. So give me Joe Mixon as a contender. And the other deal is actually Dameon Pierce's backup, Devin Singletary, and a 2024 second. Basically, I'm viewing that as a 2024 second because Singletary's not giving you anything as a contender and likely isn't anything for the rest of his career. So Mixon for a second is a smash deal as well. And to close us out, our wide receiver trade target is going to be Chris Godwin with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Through the first 4 weeks, Chris Godwin has put up a 25% target share. That is the highest mark over the last 3 or 4 seasons for Chris Godwin. And now you factor in that Mike Evans is also going to miss some time, right? They're going into a bye week, but that hamstring is probably going to linger for a few weeks, if not the entire season. And if that happens, Chris Godwin is going to see added volume because he's just good. Chris Godwin continues to be a good player, even with Baker under center here. And honestly, Baker has been much, much better than I think anybody expected, showing out with obviously Mike Evans and then having Chris Godwin with a big day when Mike Evans went down. So if that's going to be kind of the trajectory this season, Chris Godwin should be a wide receiver 2 again. I'm not going to be shocked by that. And if Evans misses extended time, there is potential for him to finish as a top 12 wide receiver consistently over the next couple of weeks here. He's actually seen the 4th most red zone targets of any wide receiver. He obviously has not found the end zone yet, so touchdowns should come, right? They may feel fluky, but they feel less fluky when you chase a guy that is, top 5 in red zone targets. So chase Chris Godwin. He is a good buy low target, and at only 27, he's gonna continue to produce for the next couple of years. He's not going to be, a rental pick like Joe Mixon might be. And obviously, we have to talk about 2 trades. So looking at the DLF trade finder, Chris Godwin has recently been flipped for DeAndre Hopkins. I don't really get that. Like, Hopkins may have a slightly higher ceiling, but I don't think the production is gonna be enough to discount several years in age. Like, Godwin is gonna be around for 3-4 years still. Hopkins might have 1 or 2 left, so give me Chris Godwin. And then the other one here is actually Christian Watson for Godwin and a second. I prefer Christian Watson here. I like Chris Godwin. I like seconds, but I don't think either of them carry the upside that Christian Watson should have, coming down the stretch here as he finally gets healthy and ramps up with Jordan Love. All right, guys, that is all we have for you. Again, if you like what we're doing here, subscribe to the channel. If you have questions, you have comments, drop that down below. As always, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time.